Good afternoon and welcome to the 6th ConeX Portal LinkedIn Live session. Today I'm pleased to welcome our special guest, Konstantin Leonenko. I hope I got that right, Konstantin, from University of Plymouth. Also joining us from ConeX Portal are Vanessa from Plymouth University, Casper from Structural Evolution, and as usual, captain of the ship, Adam Payne from Factory IQ. As usual, if you'd like to comment on any of the conversation or ask questions, please pop them in the comments box and we'll do our best to include them in the conversation. So, good afternoon, Konstantin. I'm fascinated to know exactly what is a digital fabrication and immersive media lab and what's it used for.
Thank you, Angela. Thank you, Adam. Welcome, everyone. Thank you. Glad to see you here. Vanessa, nice meeting you, Casper. Yes, Digital Fabrication and Immersive Media Labs at the University of Plymouth is a research and teaching facility worth of, I don't know how many millions of investment went in there, but it's a cutting edge facility with all the tools that allow you to navigate the world between the physical and the digital. So anywhere where these two intersect, whether you want to take your digital designs into physical reality, or you want to take your physical world and interface it with the metaverse, this is where you go. So we have all the tools, all the kits, all the expertise, and students working in these labs, exploring and learning the skills how to do this, how to navigate this complex interface between these two physical and digital realities that are merging by the second. And with that, my particular role as engagement manager for the labs is to find and create opportunities and collaborations and engagements with external partners outside of the university to make sure that our students are leaving university prepared for the jobs in the industry, as well as industry has an opportunity to explore all of these technologies, say, before they would like to invest into any of them. So we're welcoming them to explore, to prototype, to try these new solutions, to help them navigate this jungle of rapidly evolving technologies.
And I guess that gives the students as well, as you say, a real time opportunity rather than everything being theory, everything being on paper. It gives them a real opportunity to actually engage and to solve those problems.
Absolutely, exactly. So the to be able, well, let's put it this way: the machines and the tools are basically as good as people who use them, and to be able to create any effective, robust, and scalable solutions using these tools, there's no short way around it. You have to clock in your hours with that equipment, with these tools, with these machines and this software to be able to create these solutions. So, but kind of for the students to stay, for the curriculum and for the students to stay relevant and to stay up to date with kind of demands of the industry, with the demands of the kind of the large outside world outside of the university, it is essential that kind of that they stay aligned with what the industry expects. So that's why we are now managing a large portfolio of student placement internship schemes, and I have a lot of colleagues who are dealing with exactly that chunk of work. And we're welcoming businesses inside to help us create this kind of bespoke arrangements. For example, when what we are trying to create is, for example, when business wants to access a particular tool in our lab, so we try not to, rather than just giving them the tool, we try to create kind of an arrangement where we would have a student using that tool and developing the solution that business is looking for, so that the student would get the work experience, the business would look the solution they're looking for. But because it is all kind of channeled through this, it is all inevitably is tied to these technologies, to this toolkit. That's why the lab sits kind of at the intersection of this, and that's why a lot of this activity is channeled through the labs, just because ultimately kind of these are very hands-on tools.
What sort of projects, Konstantin, have you got going currently to give the audience that are listening in sort of some idea of what is happening within the lab?
Yeah. So for example, we are now working with the business in Cornwall who is creating a bespoke system of fitting construction vans, of outfitting vans with the kind of container system, making vans into mobile workshops. And they have developed a brilliant solution of arranging these kits, but they need kind of more information about the vans themselves, about different kind of Ford or Renault or whatnot, Mercedes. There's a whole range of them. So to be able to fit that solution to every particular van, they would like to have interiors of those vans scanned, and we have fantastic scanners that can do that. So we're now setting up. We're working with our design students to arrange these kind of sessions where they would be scanning the interiors of these vans. But it is not just scanning; it is then processing those meshes. It's a pretty complex tool chain that they need to learn, that they need to master, in order to deliver not just whichever thing that the software spits out, but an actual result that the business can use in their operations. So that is one of the projects. The other one that recently we had completed also had to do with 3D scanners. That's actually it is one of the easiest bits of kit to engage with in a way, because it's one of the safest and one of the most portable ones. So we see a lot of use for these devices, but also at the same time, these for a lot of businesses, these are prohibitively expensive technologies. For example, one of these scanners is just like £50,000. This is not something that you could easily kind of buy as a small business. But kind of, and there's not so many places around that would just kind of rent them. So the other project with the scanners was with the construction company, that a metal architectural firm was looking whether they can how they can use leverage these scanners in their work, and students through the placement scheme spent a couple months with the company, understanding what they're doing, trying different scanners and writing a very detailed report that the company ultimately used to inform their decisions as to further investment into this technology. Those couple things right now.
Yeah, does anybody else on the panel got a question? I mean, I've got another question, but I want to give the opportunity to the panel as well for a question. Now, I know Vanessa works closely with you, doesn't she, on this? So I don't know whether Vanessa wants to come in on this as well.
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. I work at the University of Plymouth in Enterprise Solutions. So we are the gateway for external organizations that want to engage with the services, the facilities, or the students of the university. So we do work with Konstantin, and we do sometimes refer businesses, as well as introducing the fabrication lab to external organizations. And these can be private businesses, but also public or third sector organizations. So we do tend to support all the lab spaces in the universities. One of the newest ones is exactly the digital fabrication lab. And Konstantin, got a question for you. Would you give some examples of things that businesses could maybe test or do with the lab? So I'm thinking as a perspective of a business organization, how and what could I do with the digital fabrication and immersive media lab?
Absolutely. So one of the best kind of articulated offers that so far we have kind of publicized is through our iMayflower PMG prospectus. I don't know if anybody if it made anywhere in your network so far, but it has been distributed at a couple events. I can link to a digital copy later on. So in that we kind of articulate several use cases, several scenarios, exactly how we could help businesses. And as I said, one of uh, one of the most important things to kind of to understand where we are trying to kind of to position ourselves is that rather than offering our access to our labs as just kind of as a service bureau, this is not what we're trying to do. There's plenty of commercial companies doing very similar, uh, offering very similar services, and we're not aiming to compete with that in the sense. We're first and foremost educational and research institution. So for us, it is important to facilitate knowledge exchange. That is our primary driver for a lot of the work that we do. So that means that if the business wants to come and use our technology to learn how to kind of invest further into their facilities, how to improve their products, how to develop their offer, this is what we will gladly help them with. So, for example, later on 28th of January, I will send the slides later. We are hosting an event focused on metal additive manufacturing. This is a very relevant, very rapidly developing field, which has been very inaccessible up until a couple of years ago. So if anybody wanted to step into metal additive manufacturing, you would be looking at hundreds of thousands, if not millions of pounds of investment. Whereas with couple developments in the sector, the price tag has gone down a couple orders of magnitude. So now you can have metal additive manufacturing solution in your office for under £10,000. And what we're doing is that we run an event where we invite speakers who represent each such segment of metal AM. One say under £10,000, one between 10,000 and 200,000 pounds, and one kind of into the over million. And all of this, for example, Plymouth Science Park is launching the facility, multi-million facility, doing powder bed fusion laser printing, which is top end machines from UK supplier Renishaw. And at the same time, there are companies like Ultimaker, whose £5,000 3D printers can print metal infused plastic filaments and get not exactly the same but comparable results, and but for a very different market in a way. It is, even though both of these technologies allow you to fabricate metal, they have very different use cases and they have very different investment thresholds. So what we do, we invite businesses who are looking into this technology, or who have not even maybe considered yet, because they were under impression that this is such a prohibitively expensive direction to pursue. We invite them to help them map this landscape, to help them kind of find their entry into the field. So and help them understand that maybe even if they want the productivity and the kind of the requirements and the properties that are only achievable through those multi-million pound Renishaw machines, they don't need to kind of to invest in them straight away. There are kind of the little steps and little bits which they can do and test and develop their offer and develop their project to find exactly the most cost-effective application, cost-effective solution for their problem. So we aim to kind of to deliver as broad and as comprehensive literacy around all of these technologies to the broadest community of practice around this, because in a way these technologies are transforming every single field, from manufacturing to healthcare to entertainment to any other sector, you name it. And even though they originally, a lot of them come from things like manufacturing sector or say entertainment sector for the immersive technologies, but they're transforming pretty much every single business and every single sector right now with their availability. So again, we aim to kind of to bring this broad awareness so that it is not just the access to the machines, but the new way of thinking about these tools, a new way of looking at problems with the understanding of these technologies, how to apply them is what we try uh, to bring forward.
So Konstantin, thank you for that. That's really interesting. I'm a local engineering consultancy. I'm based in Plymouth. I'm also a student at Plymouth University, so I can't speak
Amazing.
highly enough of the enterprise solutions team. I've been working with Denise and Becky and them for many years now, as a graduate as well as a student at Plymouth. My company is now 2 years old, and I specialize in the detailed analysis of composite structures. So my question is, how would a company like myself collaborate with you guys to I'm looking at possibly using augmented reality to visualize stress information or stress models
Yeah.
better, so you can actually look at it, see it, as well as CAD models. Augmented reality is always good to see it with
Yeah.
a live background. So how would a small company like myself,
Yeah,
take
so
advantage of
So the most straightforward way now is just to go to our webpage, which is plymouth.ac.uk/dfiml. And there's my contact email address. I mean, right now we're at the stage where we're handling each such request individually and kind of looking at every such situation in very closely, trying to align that with the kind of with the existing opportunities, with existing funding opportunities around students and around placements, around labs availability. So it is a dialogue every time. So please just drop me a message, and we will invite you for the tour. I will put you in touch with my colleagues who handle our portfolio of student placement opportunities, and we will just kind of look at exactly where does your request fit within this spectrum, and we'll kind of put you in touch with the relevant academics and colleagues who will help you find that solution. But it sounds, what you described sounds exactly the kind of the line of work that is in what we're trying to achieve.
So you quickly touched on something there. You guys will look at sort of what funding around is available, what internship programs are available. So for other small businesses, and it's a shame we have to go there first, but is funding available? And it sounds like there is pots of funding in the university that we can tap into and make use of. It just depends on the time and the project, I take it.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, anytime kind of interfacing with the university, it's important to realize that kind of universities and the rest of the world work on slightly different schedules. The academic cycle of university, a lot of the activity is tied just to that. So these kind of rounds of internship and placement opportunities, some of them they only appear kind of once or twice a year, depending on the schedule, kind of how these things are developed. But there are also now emerging much more kind of bespoke, small, let's call them asynchronous opportunities that are not so tied with the kind of with the schedule, with the annual cycle. And so yes, my colleagues will help you navigate that landscape.
So how would this work then? So would the intern work on? It's almost like a mini KTP almost. So the student will work on the project and feedback information, but he'll be based at university whilst doing the project work.
There are various ways of doing it. So, for example, the project I described before, the students, it was a virtual internship scheme. So the student was actually employee of the enterprise, and university, through some funding scheme, they paid the salary for the student, and the student was producing work according to the brief set out by the engineering company.
There are many ways to access this type of funding as well, or like to do a project and access the labs from different routes. So you, Casper, mentioned like the KTP. So that's obviously something that one can explore, and you get some part, this part funded by the government as well, and you could access student talent as well as the labs facilities. There are many different ways, and as Konstantin was also saying, like they work a different path in a way. If there is something that you like to find out and how to access the facilities, please drop us like an email to Enterprise Solutions or drop me a message on LinkedIn, and we'll be able to like direct you to the right routes and to the right people. Or obviously, if you want to access the Digital Fabrication Lab and Immersive Media Lab, Konstantin's here, and his email address is on the website, so he'll be able to address that. But whether you want to access maybe like some funding, or if there are like slightly different opportunities that you can access again the labs, please drop me a message and we can explore that together.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. That's very informative.
Go on, Angela. You go first. I was going to ask.
I was going to say to Konstantin, I mean, obviously with the work that you're doing, I guess you need to be constantly looking at technology and how it's evolving. And I just wondered, have you seen anything emerging that you feel quite excited about for the future?
One project that I kind of I bring up in every single conversation regarding this now is the epic effort that BMW and NVIDIA are partnering to create a complete digital twin of an automotive factory in real time, that is run completely in real time before they even start building the factory. So that is probably right now kind of the main flagship global project that shows the potential of what can be the outcome when all of these tools are properly integrated. And I don't know. Funnily enough, but maybe not so funny, kind of the core enabling technology to all of that is coming from video games. It's the Unity gaming engine that has been perfected over the years to provide this real-time detailed simulation of all of this geometry that allows people to just kind of create a detailed real-time factory. And then through that, kind of all of the robotic clients and all the machines, and including digital humans, are used to optimize ergonomics of assembly line, kind of the height of the workbenches, depending on could be customized to every given worker. So it is quite incredible. I mean, I could keep talking about various things, but it's sort of when these things are integrated closely is where these remarkable things happen. And the kind of additive manufacturing and the 3D printing that has been already, I mean, it seems like the hype period around over 3D printing is over. It was about 10 years ago that everything was about 3D printing, but then the technology wasn't quite there and the hype sort of died out. But right now there's less hype about it, but the technology is getting incredibly more capable. So there's much less publicity around this, but the applications and the technologies that are solutions that are being developed using that are just astounding. For example, another thing was a team of researchers has developed a 3D printed blood filter which takes out chemotherapy treatment downstream from the tumor. So basically, you have a tiny 3D printed mesh which can be done on the machines that we have in our labs. It is coated with some sort of enzymes, but it's biocompatible material, which we can do. Then it receives some sort of coating, and it is implanted very in close proximity to the tumor, so that the chemotherapy treatment that the patient receives stays within that filter and doesn't poison the rest of the body. So things like this, that, as I say, kind of the technologies themselves, actually, if you look and think about and you look in isolation at every single particular tool, those are actually really primitive things. Kind of 3D printers are just kind of machines that squirt out molten plastic in patterns. kind of what video games, we've seen them decades ago, and of robotic arms have been now with us for like half a century. But it's the abundance and availability of computational resource and the kind of the growing literacy around these technologies. Kind of what is it that you can do with a 3D printer that you could never have dreamt of with a CNC machine? So it's a completely different way of approaching the world, of looking at the solution. So, and I mean, I can rant for the rest of the day about the supply chain implications of kind of on-demand manufacturing and cloud warehouses, cloud manufacturing, and all of and digital warehouses. So, but yeah. Maybe there's something more specific we can talk about.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, it's good. That is. So that, I mean, you mentioned that VR, and then Casper mentioned the AR side. So it's about bringing that together as well, and that's some of the facilities that you can do within that for manufacturers or businesses that are looking into that. Because I find the VR, and this is Yinch's fault, I find the VR side fascinating, and I've just been showing that our VR platforms with Frame that we've got into now, and it's a cracking way of working. That is, I'm only just touching the edges of it at the minute. Anybody else?
Quite interesting, Adam. Sam and I had a conversation about that a few weeks ago, and I did say, do you think that we'll see a day where you can actually walk into a VR room and, for example, have a VR CNC machine actually working there that you can stand and watch? And I think the you know, it's just mind-blowing to think of how we're ahead with these technologies. I mean, Konstantin talking about, the digital twinning of a factory, and you think, how does that work? Absolutely fascinating.
I think it's also brilliant. It would be one of those technologies that's kind of, I think when we would be looking back 10 years, just like, how did we ever live without those? So, and in some ways, kind of, it is, yeah. As recently I had a conversation with a friend, and he was describing an experience when he put on kind of, it's an artistic research project and about perception, so that when you put on goggles which allow you to see in 360, and then I said, well, yeah, probably it takes you a couple of days to get used to that, and you would be able to operate. He's like, no, it takes you a couple of minutes. There's kind of a couple of things people help you do, like clap my hand, then in about a minute you can catch a ball, in 2 minutes you can walk around the space looking 360. And he says the most shocking thing is how unshocking that is how kind of natural ultimately that feels in retrospect. So all of this, as I see, kind of all of these technologies, they have been with us already for a good deal of time, but it's only now that kind of them becoming much more commonplace, much more accessible, that we start seeing kind of their long-term implications and kind of their applications, which is where kind of the biggest transformation is happening. When you look also at the history of computing and the history of internet, so that Unix and TCP/IP protocol were developed on PDP-11 machines, which were the size of a fridge in the 70s, and it is now, when 50 years later, that kind of those core technologies were developed that are now in this pandemic helping us just kind of to cope with the whole kind of uprooted remote meeting and remote learning scenario. So it is very challenging, and it's kind of very difficult to see right now what would be those things. But again, kind of as I said, looking back, it would probably be like, yeah, that's the most natural thing. kind of how could it have happened otherwise? How could we operate our factories in any different way? Which is, but we'll see.
Fascinating, Konstantin, absolutely fascinating. And I'm sure everybody will agree with me. That's, you know, the insight that you've given us to the good work that you're doing at University of Plymouth. Just brilliant. Thank you. And I'm sure it's given us all food for thought as well about the future. Obviously, we'll put a link to the event that Konstantin mentioned in the comments. I'd like to thank all of our guests for joining us. And of course, thank you to those of you who commented and asked questions. Our next LinkedIn Live will be Thursday, the 16th of December. So please do come and join us. And don't forget, if you'd like to know a little bit more about fabulous work that ConeX portal is doing and how it's helping SMEs in UK manufacturing, then please do either contact Sam Bain or myself. But have a lovely afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you all soon.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you. Cheers.
You.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.